Hello, everybody. My name is Imran Hassan, and I have decided to do my film project on a movie called Bend It Like Beckham. The movie is about the cultural misconception and the cultural mingling of two completely different cultures and the problems that comes along with it. Um, the movie is based upon it's focused on two main characters. The first character is Jaspinder. She goes by Jess. She comes from a somewhat conservative Sikh family, which is predominantly they belong to the Indian subcontinent. So they can be considered from Asian culture. Uh, and the second character is Juliet, which is Jules. She is being portrayed as a girl that's coming from Western culture, a European culture. There are some cultural biases that are portrayed for both cultures, and also it also shows the movie shows the I guess the growing pains that families have to go through when they have to assimilate themselves into a new culture, especially coming from a culture who are considered or they are a little bit conservative in their mindset, and coming into a culture who are more broad-minded or like a culture which I would say uh, a little bit more evolved and a little bit more open. But it also shows even in cultures like European Western culture, that there are cultural biases. There are cultural biases against uh, some segments or some groups uh, based on their sexuality. Um, Now, the first point that I would like to mention here is how Jess's parents uh, they are not really happy about uh, their daughter playing soccer. Uh, they they would like their daughter to focus on learning how to cook, be a good wife, be a good mother. Those kind of like I would want to say like sexist uh, roles that a typical woman should have. Um, Also, like Jules's parents, Jules's mother especially, she is also concerned about her daughter liking soccer so much and not being so much into boys and makeup and fashion, such things. Uh, the difference between the two cultures it also comes along when the acceptance uh, of their daughter's love for soccer. Jess's parents, like I mentioned, are not that happy about their daughter playing soccer. But Jules's dad is very encouraging. Jules's mom is also very accepting. But she is a little concerned about her daughter's interest in soccer more than typical girly stuff. Um, One similarity that both cultures had was in their bias of homosexuality. There was a scene which came pretty much. There was two scenes actually, which came pretty much back to back. The first scene where Jules' mother overhears Jules having this argument with Jess, and uh, she kind of misinterpret the whole thing as her daughter being lesbian, and she was very upset about it. Uh, the second one was immediately after, when Jess leaves Jules's house and sits down with her childhood friend, uh, who pretty much lets her know that he is homosexual, and her reaction to was, "But you're Indian." So like things like this, like small little statements, but it shows how like the perception of different cultures are towards homosexuality is so enclosed. Um, it is a very nice movie. Uh, it shows, it gives you a lot of exposure to uh, a huge segment of the Southeast Asian um culture, the colorfulness that the movie portrays through the visualization of the wedding of uh, Jess's older sister. Uh, Also, it shows how typical Southeast Asian families, they view, how they differentiate between, like, uh, how their children, especially the parents, they differentiate how their children should act a certain way, and if they don't act a certain way, that is something that their parents are responsible for, and they kind of following following the path of, they believe in the phrase that apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Um, a scene in the movie comes in where, like, uh, just his older sister's future in-laws mistakenly sees her and Jules at a bus stop, and they were like laughing, and like they were at very close proximity to each other, and the lady thought she was making out with some white boy in the out in the open, in a bus stop, and she comes in and she wants to call off the wedding, or like postpone the wedding. Uh, so these narrow-mindedness, although nowadays it's not as evident, it's not as profound anymore, but there are still some families who still have those biases. So these are the small little things that are portrayed in this movie. It's a little exaggerated, as all movies do. They they kind of highlight some aspects of the characteristic, uh, to, it seems a little, people who actually know the culture, or people who actually been through such event, it, to them it, like, looks a little foolish. But overall, it's a very nice movie to watch. I should encourage everybody to watch it. Um, it has a very nice storyline, uh, but it points out a, a quite a few, actually. It points out quite a few. Points out quite a few uh, cultural biases and misconceptions that people still carry to this day. Thank you. Have a great day.